If you walked into a cursed house and vengeful spirits started preying upon you, what would you do? In this How to Beat video, we'll follow the characters, see if we can make better decisions, and ultimately attempt to beat the cursed ONRYO in The Grudge. If you think you have a better way to beat the ONRYO, let me know in the comments. If you like these How to Beat videos, consider subscribing. Before we start following the characters, we're warned by some dark exposition about the Ju-on curse. That when someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage, a curse is born. The curse gathers in that place of death, and those who encounter it will be consumed by its fury. It's a great bedtime story for your children. What about the victims of the ONRYO? They're all suffering immensely and dying in the grip of the ONRYO's powerful rage. Wouldn't this in effect cause the spread of the Ju-on Grudge curse like a virus? It would be an unstoppable pandemic that would cause the human race to go extinct and the earth to become inhospitable. And what about any other situation where someone was brutally murdered? If you just open a history book and flip to any page or turn on the news, you pretty much cannot avoid reading about horrific atrocities committed between humans. This curse would be an extinction level threat that humans would be battling everywhere all the time. If this curse was real, I'd recommend that you stay home and download Raid: Shadow Legends. The game is free to play on iOS, Android, and PC. Basically, you summon champions from the afterlife to beat the Dark Lord Sephiroth with magic and might. My favorite part of the game is revisiting the foes I've long since conquered and desecrating them time after time with my disgustingly overpowered champions I've gotten from cracking open shards. Speaking of, I have a few more blue shards to break open. Aww. It's a cute orc pup named Goremask. Besides ripping out people's throats, he does increase ally HP. Just don't bring him to your dog park. The next one is the Demon Spawn's Tormentor. He's got Infernal Miasma, which is him throwing his demonic gas at people. Nice. Yep, this one's my favorite, Grave Chill Killer. She looks like the Night Queen. I always choose the undead factions because how can you beat death itself? You can upgrade gear and level up at the tavern with Coin, Brews, and the always welcome Sacrifice. I want to level up my Grave Chill Killer. Sorry Pilgrim, you're getting harvested. I'll give her a brew too to wash him down. They've just added Champion Fragments, which let you collect pieces of champions that you can use to summon specific awesome champions with special events running all the time. There's also a new bazaar where you can load up on high value items with the gold bars you win in Tag Arena. And they just extended the daily login rewards up to 270 days with free champions available just for logging in. There's been a ton of cool updates recently, so it's a great time to start playing. Use my links in the description to get 100,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 10 mystery shards, and 1 free absolute beast of a champion called Slasher. Rewards are available for the next 30 days for new players and will be located in the treasure box in the top right. Join me, Nerd Explains, and help me beat the Dark Lord Sephiroth. Thanks again to Raid: Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. We start out following a disturbed looking man. I know Monday mornings can be hard, but come on. I'm guessing he visited the home, started getting haunted by the ONRYO, and thought, fuck it, I'm going out on my own terms. I get it, I really do, but your apartment was not that high up. Suicide by falling is not something you want to mess up. According to a book called Trauma Anesthesia, 50% of people will die from a 4-story fall, and 90% from a 7-story fall. We later see that his apartment was on the 6th floor, so about 80% chance that he dies. Might as well take the elevator up to the roof and guarantee you go out instantly. Yoko, the expendable caretaker, is helping an elderly lady named Emma. During her cleanup routine, she hears some creaking of the wood floors in the adjacent room. Of course, she decides to check it out, only to find nobody there. Houses do make random noises though. My parents' house has air currents that would pull the basement door shut on its own. At least I'm pretty sure it was the air currents. I never took any chances though. As soon as I turned the basement lights off, I'd do that animal crawl up the stairs as fast as possible before shutting and locking the door. One creaking sound, okay, but 3 distinct sounds that are directionally baiting you into a trap. Yoko is like a little kid following the ONRYO's jelly bean trail. It's not as obvious that Yoko was in danger as much as the first girl from the Polaroid movie, but still. Checking out the attic is gonna be a hard no for me. She turns her back on the open entrance that the weird sound was coming from because that's smart, then hops in to check the attic out. If I experienced what she did, I'd have left the building and then gotten some backup to go check it out later. Not too long ago, a homeless man was found living in a couple's attic. I'm not going to be confronting a potential situation like that alone. Yeah, Yoko didn't really stand a chance, considering she was one of the first to encounter the ONRYO, and the old lady is mute and can't scribble a picture to show Yoko that she's in danger. Our main protagonist, Karen, gets to work and finds out she's filling in for Yoko, who didn't show up for work this morning or answer her phone. Like Alex said, she's probably just sick. Karen reaches the elderly woman's house and finds her writhing on the bedroom floor. Yeah, thanks Alex. Handling 160 pounds of dead weight is easy to do alone. I think it was kind of odd that both floors of the house were trashed, but the only occupant is diagnosed with severe lethargy and can't get out of her own bed and probably had pissed herself. Karen starts getting baited by the ONRYO fairly quickly, and makes the same mistake of following the metaphorical evil jelly bean trail into the ONRYO's tender, unloving embrace. Seriously, they're a very touchy-feely spirit. I'd rather get my head whacked off by Jason Voorhees. The closet is strangely taped up. The ONRYO tricks Karen into coming over to the closet to help the cat. Well, she found the cat and a little boy. Karen calls her manager, Alex, to see what she should do. It seems like a good time to call the cops, too. Karen managed to snag the piss-stained book from the random creepy kid. Priorities. It seems to be a diary of some sort and contains a picture of the jumper. She continues wandering around the house with the little boy still upstairs by himself. Amidst all the trash, she finds a ripped up picture containing the image of the little boy, his cat, and his parents. I'm still not sure why Karen has not called the cops to figure out who or where the parents are. She figures out that the boy's name is Toshio. The phone rings. It's Susan, Matthew's sister. She's checking in to make sure that Emma's okay. It is Emma's room, so Karen probably just thought it was her. Behind the door, she hears Emma murmuring to something. Karen opens the door and asks Emma who she was talking to. Surprisingly, Emma finally talks, saying that they won't leave her alone. Karen ignores her and tells her to just get some rest. Karen, she was diagnosed with lethargy and dementia. There's obviously something not right here with the child. Yoko missing the picture, etc. Emma is not psychotic or hallucinatory. It's not like she has a pre-existing condition that would cause her to say things like this. Maybe just ask who she's referring to at least. The evil ONRYO spirit confronts Karen, but it's not clear if she's dead yet. We flash back to the family and Emma originally buying the house a few days prior. Emma seems to know something's not right. While the family checks out the house, the real estate agent hears some dripping noises coming from the bathroom. He heads in to check it out and sees the tub is filled with dark, disgusting water. The dripping sounds sounded less like a faucet dripping and more like someone splashing the water around. Odd. Since he's trying to sell the house, he tries to quickly unclog the drain before the family comes downstairs to check it out. This movie has successfully made me paranoid of attics and dark water-filled bathtubs. I wonder if he'll mention that to the family.
We'll take it. Okay.
Nope. This house would be considered a jikobuken, which is a property where the previous occupants died of unnatural causes, like murder. Under Japanese law, the real estate agent is required to inform the buyers of prior incidents. Not like it would matter though, because nobody would survive long enough to make it to court. I also like how they didn't give a shit about Emma's opinion of the house, considering she was visibly disturbed by the place. What the fuck, Toshio? You were supposedly murdered so brutally that a curse was created with your vengeful spirit to terrorize and bring death to whoever is unlucky enough to walk in that front door. But you're running around knocking over my ramen and eating my Ritz bits. I think your dad should have held your head underwater a little longer. Jennifer initially blames it on Emma, but sees footprints leading into another room. I'm just trying to imagine seeing footprints in my house, following them, and then running into a cat and a little kid. It's a little kid, but I ain't dealing with that. Same procedure as Yoko and Karen. Leave, call the cops, then wait for Kayako to come kill you anyways. Jennifer heads upstairs to check it out by herself.
Who's there?
Jennifer's giving the chick from Polaroid a run for her money and how stupid you can be, and succumbs to a similar fate. Matthew comes home to find Jen missing and the house completely trashed. I think someone broke into my home. Same procedure as Yoko, Karen, and Jen. Leave, call the cops, and Jen, then wait for Kayako to come kill you anyways. Emma's completely shell-shocked, probably from hearing her daughter-in-law get ravaged by evil spirits upstairs. Matthew finds Jennifer in bed, also shell-shocked. She starts croaking, and just as Matthew's about to call an ambulance, the ONRYO attack. Clearly they're being attacked by something supernatural, and nobody so far has had a solid opportunity to fight back. Matthew and Jen are presumably dead. Back from the flashback, Alex shows up to help Karen. Wow, these houses are less secure than a Motel 8.
Because you're just laying in this bed like 2 feet from a door that just opens up into the parking lot. Any guy can come in.
He finds Emma lying wide awake. Oh, she's dead. To be fair, it's kind of hard to tell. I don't think Emma was diagnosed correctly. She was clearly suffering from severe PTSD, which they just chalked up to mild dementia and lethargy. And instead of proper therapy and figuring out what happened to her, they just gave her a cleaning lady. Alex finds a very PTSD-stricken Karen curled up in the corner. I guess the evil spirits have not finished toying with her. Finally, someone decided to call the cops. Alex and the detectives have a very disheartening chat. He tells them Yoko's missing, and they tell him Emma's family has been missing as well. The detectives then take up the important task of finding and returning the phone to its charging dock. They then hop into the attic where nothing good has ever happened. At least the evil spirits, in their vengeful rampage, decided to place their victims' corpses in loving embrace. How sweet. They also find Yoko's jaw. Doug mentions to Karen that the cops ruled Emma's death as from natural causes. How did the cops rule that, considering there's 2 corpses and a ripped out jaw in the attic, a missing caretaker, and a former owner of said jaw, and a PTSD-stricken caretaker? Yeah, I'm sure Emma's death was completely unrelated. I know Karen's pretty shocked, but I'd think if I was her, I'd be trying to find out who that kid was, what happened to his family in the picture, but more importantly, find a Buddhist priest to take a look at my options. In the recap, we'll see if this could have helped. Karen does have some offhand knowledge of Buddhist rituals that could help.
It's a Buddhist ritual. The incense smoke carries the prayers to the spirits of their ancestors. It's to help them find peace.
What I'm gathering from this ritual is that Karen needs to burn the haunted house down and cremate their remains. But again, it's probably wise to check with the Buddhists first, considering they have much more knowledge on these things. We flash back to Susan, who's working late at the office. Karashi, or death from overwork, is an ongoing issue within Japan's extreme work culture, so I don't get how she's there alone. Well, Susan's dead. She makes it into the stairwell and takes a big sigh of relief because obviously the creepy stalker thing couldn't follow her in there. Matthew calls her cell phone, but it doesn't sound like him.
Matthew.
In case you're wondering, Kayako's croaking is caused by her husband snapping her neck, which didn't initially kill her. The croaking is her trying to breathe through her broken windpipe. The stairwell lights start shutting off above her, and she sees Kayako crawling up the stairs. Just as Susan makes it out of the stairwell, Kayako grabs her feather keychain, snapping it off. Susan makes a break for the security desk and convinces the security guard to go check out the monster on the 10th floor. Sure, he gets paid enough to do that. She watches on the security camera as the guard checks it out. All seems good until the ONRYO crawls out of the shadow. Not knowing that she was marked by the Grudge curse, she takes a taxi back to her apartment thinking she can escape. But the ONRYO has already caught up with Susan, waiting for her at every floor but the one she steps off at. She makes it into her apartment and the phone rings. Maybe it's actually Matthew this time.
Hello?
Hey, it's me.
Matthew. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm downstairs. What number are you again?
1601. I'll buzz you in.
That's not Matthew. Not sure why it had to deceive her like that in order to get into her apartment. It obviously has no problem tracking and following her. Through the eye peep, it looks like Matthew is there, but when she opens the door, the hallway's empty. Susan runs back inside and jumps under the covers. The nightmare fuel continues as she finds the feather keychain that the ONRYO stole in her bed. She basically only has enough time to register that she has seconds before a corpse ghost consumes her soul. Yeah, Susan really didn't stand a chance. We flash forward and Karen's surprisingly still alive. The detective seems to think that Matthew killed Jennifer, drug her into the attic and into his embrace, then killed himself while Emma simultaneously died in her sleep. I feel like a competent forensics analyst would refute this narrative really quickly. Oh, and Susan also disappeared at around the same time, but I'm sure she killed herself too. Just another run-of-the-mill coordinated familial mass suicide. And the little boy that Karen said she saw, that died 3 years ago in that house, definitely just a figment of her imagination. I think this detective needs to go get an onion bagel with cream cheese for Agent Smecker.
Greenlee. Onion bagel, cream cheese.
His subordinate puts it together that they were the first family to live in that house since the murder 3 years ago, implying the curse. Karen overhears that all the previous tenants died within days of entering the house, and they weren't all killed in that house. She realizes that she has very little time and that there's nowhere that's safe. But instead of visiting a Buddhist temple for expert help, Karen goes to see her waiter boyfriend. He tries to get her to open up and she tells him that she thinks she saw something, that she isn't sure, but something else was there with him. Yeah, the ghost got right in your face. What are you confused about? I remember this scene when I was a kid. It legitimately made me afraid of car window reflections. It's very important to stay fresh and clean while being tormented and hunted down by murderous evil spirits. Back at the care center, the creepy little kid sicks the disfigured Yoko on Alex. Do you really need to touch the blood to know it's blood? And please, don't walk up to her, for the love of God.
Oh my God!
Don't mind her. She slip and fall.
Poor Alex. Like the others, he just couldn't know what hit him. Karen's doing her own detective work on the Siki family. The little boy she saw was actually dead, and the ghost she saw was probably the deceased mother. Both were murdered by the father, who later hung himself according to the article. Peter's suicide was also written about in an article on the same page, though it's not clear why he killed himself or if there was any connection to the Siki family. The detective is checking out the security tapes from Susan's building. The ONRYO comes out of the shadow like before and shuffles up to the camera. It's at this moment he realizes he fucked up. Karen is following the Peter lead. I'm not sure why. It didn't seem like there was a solid connection between the house and him. Kayako managed to photobomb every single one of Peter's photos, and this was before she was a ghost. Impressive stalking skills. We flash back to pre-suicide Peter. He's got a secret admirer from a girl he doesn't know. Uh-oh, it's Kayako. Looks like the father already did the damage, and the house is cursed. Peter innocently tries to help Toshio, but Toshio has other plans. I wonder if Kayako was gonna kill him before he committed suicide, considering she got killed because she was madly in love with him. Karen confronts the detective about what he knows of the house. He reveals that 2 of his colleagues died mysteriously, and 1 disappeared. All were investigating the murders that occurred in that house. Knowing that they've both been in that house, they know they're marked for death.
It is said in Japan that when a person dies in extreme sorrow, no rage, the emotion remains, becoming a stain upon that place.
Since the detective has knowledge of the Onryo and Ju-on curse, you'd think he would try to enlist the help of Buddhists as well. Instead, he admits defeat. Well, almost. Burning the house down is a pretty reasonable conclusion given their limited knowledge of the curse. It's not clear if it'll work though. If it does, this should become standard police procedure from now on. I'd throw a Molotov cocktail from the outside. Inside and alone is too risky. This would be a mistake. Oh, come on. You know it's the ghost of the murdered boy. That was just stupid. It looked like it was the father drowning him. Either that was the form that Kayako took, or Takeo became an Onryo when Kayako's spirit hung him. Karen returns home, and it seems Doug left a message for her, telling her that Alex and Yoko were found dead, and that he was gonna come find her at the Siki house. Doug! Why would Karen go back to that house? Just at least don't go inside the crime scene. Karen, after hearing Doug's intentions, chases after him to stop him. It's too late though. Doug has already doomed himself. Instead of finding Doug, Karen finds Peter. Apparently, evil spirits sometimes like to take you down memory lane before murdering you. The Onryo shows Karen Kayako's deadly infatuation with Peter. It was a love affair that led to the dad murdering them and the kitty in rage. Thanks, Kayako, but I really don't think Karen gives a shit about your family drama. And it's not like this is actionable intel considering you're gonna kill her in a few minutes. Karen's hallucination of Peter continues, and Peter's curiosity of the fly-infested closet with bloody handprints on it gets the best of him. He nopes out of the house, barely able to walk with what he just witnessed. Karen's got nerves of steel because she sticks around to check out the thumping noise in the other room. Is there a room in this house that is not filled with horrifying shit? Kayako continues showing her Netflix documentary about her murder to provide backstory to Karen for literally no reason. It's not looking good for Doug. He's still alive, but the situation's getting pretty dire. Kayako makes out with Doug with her sexy, raspy voice, then crawls over to Karen. Karen tries to escape through the front door, but this Onryo bitch is everywhere. In a Hail Mary, Karen grabs Doug's cigarette lighter as he's croaking back to life. It seems Kayako forgot one thing. Karen's boyfriend's a smoker.
I've just got one piece of bad news for you, Robbins.
What's that?
I'm a smoker.
The place burns down as Kayako crawls on top of Karen. She survives the fire, meaning that the house survived, meaning that Kayako survived, meaning Karen's still fucked. The detectives corroborate this by telling us the firefighters put out the fire, saving the house and Karen. Nobody talks about the poor firefighters who put out the fire and drug Karen out of the house, who doomed himself and Karen in the process. She visits Doug's body, and I bet you can't guess the dramatic twist ending. The movie ends. Let's recap who we could have saved and whose death was inevitable. I'm gonna start off with some good old victim blaming. Kayako shouldn't have kept a diary detailing her love affair when she damn well knows her husband's a jealous psycho. But she got caught and was murdered for it, along with Toshio and the cat. Peter naively sought out his secret admirer and tried to help an injured boy, but instead cursed himself with death. Nothing he could have done. Matthew, Jennifer, Susan, and Emma were all killed for trying to buy a house. Since the events unfolded fairly quickly, and Yoko was sent in to help Emma at around the same time the family was mysteriously murdered, she didn't stand a chance either. When Karen was face to face with the ONRYO, it was clear she was in danger from an evil spirit. With her knowledge of Japanese mythology, it would have been reasonable to enlist the help of a Buddhist priest. According to Wikipedia, I mean Japanese mythology, there might be some ways to exorcise the ONRYO. The easiest way is to help it fulfill its purpose, traditionally by enacting revenge upon the ONRYO's slayer. Since Kayako already took revenge on her slayer, Takeo, this method would not work. You could try to give the ONRYO's remains a proper burial with all rites performed. The timing's gonna be tight, but it might work. You could also allow the ghost to consummate its passion with its intended lover. No joke, Peter just had to fuck Kayako's evil spirit. It might be hard to get it up given her corpsey appearance, but that's just a grenade he needs to jump on. I hope he likes croakers. The emotions of the ONRYO are particularly strong, so they're the least likely to be pacified by these methods. Alternatively, the ONRYO can be repelled by placing holy Shinto writings on the ONRYO's forehead to banish the spirit, which seems tricky to accomplish. They can also be attached to a house's entryways to prevent the ONRYO from entering. Karen and the other cursed victims could do this to buy themselves time to figure out a way to exorcise the ONRYO and break the grudge curse against them. The last option is to burn the house down completely. Karen and the detective attempted this, but both failed. It makes sense that burning the house and the remains would remove any tether the ONRYO had to the physical world. With a number of options, Karen may have been able to break the curse, saving her, Doug, the detective, Alex, the firefighters, and the cops. If all that fails, well, everyone's dead. I don't think we can really say we beat the ONRYO, as none of these options are really proven to work, even if we survive long enough to try them. I'd say the Ju-on Curse and the ONRYO were unbeaten. Thanks for watching, and well, no final memento will save your life. You probably won't know what hits you when an ONRYO follows you home. Sweet dreams.